The Elder Scrolls Oblivion is a masterpiece of the Elder Scrolls series with over 9.5 million copies sold, and it won Game of the Year in 2006.
Why won't you die? What's the matter? Getting tired?
Oblivion was a developed game by Bethesda Game Studios, and it's the fourth installment of the Elder Scrolls series, and is set in the province of Cyrodiil, the heart of the Septon Empire during the Oblivion Crisis.
You. I've seen you. Let me see your face. You are the one from my dreams.
The story begins 6 years after the events of Elder Scrolls Morrowind, which is the third installment of Elder Scrolls. The Emperor is assassinated as he attempts to flee the Imperial City after learning that the assassins have killed his son. However, before his death, he hands the Amulets of Kings over to the person who you would become of the hero of Kvatch, a prisoner which he has seen in his dreams, with instructions to close to shut the jaws of Oblivion. Now, Cyrodiil is a continent of Tamriel. It's got varied land, swampy marshlands, snowy mountains, and mountainous forests and green fields. You as the player is able to choose from 10 races at the beginning of the game. You can customize yourself in many ways, including the age, appearance, and even the eye color. You can obviously ignore the main quest line, of course, just like every other Elder Scrolls game, and just do the side quests like a lot of us do. In Oblivion, you only have 5 factions to join from, which is the Fighters Guild, the Mages Guild, the Dark Brotherhood, the Thieves Guild, and the Arena. With Oblivion doing so well on its launch, Bethesda decided to release some DLCs which were called the Shivering Isles and the Knights of the Nine. The Shivering Isles is probably one of the best DLCs ever in gaming history. This was released for the Xbox 360 on March 26, 2007, and for PC, March 27, 2007. Following that year, a Game of the Year edition was released that included the original game, as well as the bonus disc including the Knights of the Nine and the Shivering Isles expansions. For many of you, you would already know this information, but what makes Oblivion so great in 2025? Now, for one, this is one of the best RPG games you could ever play. It has such in-depth quests, an amazing main story with the Oblivion Crisis. Oblivion also put Bethesda onto the market, where this was their biggest hit of their series of creating any game that they've made. Oblivion changed the perspective of games, having an open world RPG game where you don't have to do the main quest line, you can do whatever you want and be whoever you want, which you give yourself the freedom to do that, created the option for other companies to actually learn that trait and put it within their game if they're doing an RPG. One of the more underrated things is how welcoming and warm the cities and the regions felt in Oblivion. And I actually prefer this more than Skyrim. I felt more connected within the world. And this is why I love Oblivion so much. I found the combat very good for its age. The leveling up system was my favorite in all the Elder Scrolls, how it's ever been, and I hope it does come back in the Elder Scrolls 6. Nice and simple and just really good. Now, the game after even its release got even popular. In the 2010s, there was released about all the memes, and this is one of the funniest things with the game. The voice acting and the memes and just what the NPCs do, which brings the game so much joy. Now, obviously, if we got this game how it was with the NPCs and the different glitches that goes on in this game, obviously, as we can see from how audiences react, it's not a good thing, and we know Bethesda have had them, and it's a very consistent thing that Bethesda keep having bugs and glitches, and this is a problem that they've been going on even since Oblivion. Another thing is that I felt that the NPCs feel more alive then than they do now, even though with the glitches and the bugs that they have in them, I felt like a lot of franchises, a lot of games, such as Starfield, the NPCs in Starfield felt less engaging than the ones in Oblivion. And this is a game that was released 17 years after Oblivion was released. This shows that Bethesda really need to pick up their game, and they obviously exceeded their expectation early on. Oblivion is a game that I keep on coming back to. It's my favorite game of all time, and I just love the world, how it's so inviting to everything that you do. I believe it's the best Elder Scrolls game that is out there, and it's such a masterpiece to play in 2025 still to this day. Now, I know a lot of new players that would play Oblivion, that's a game that's going to be 19 years old. It's going to be very, very hard for you to try and accept the graphics because, yeah, the graphics aren't good, the NPCs aren't that good, and they're not super, super engaging, but they're more engaging than they are in Starfield. And the combat, I like the combat, but realistically, the combat's pretty bland. I love the game, you know, it's nostalgic for me. So I know for a lot of people out there that have been playing Oblivion since it was on release, or when they got an Xbox 360 and started playing it, they would have loved playing the game. This was one of my first games that I've actually ever played, and it's actually my first RPG ever, and this is what got me into Elder Scrolls. Now, I know a lot of YouTubers and reviews have been saying that Oblivion is aging poorly, and yes, that is completely true. It definitely does age poorly, but it doesn't mean that you still can't play it or it's unplayable. This game still has such love and unique style to the game. It's got in-depth story. It's pretty bland and simple, but it's perfect, and it's just the right amount of touch. If you can just have in the mindset to be back in to how it was in 2006 when games were getting released and how games were then, if you can feel like you're in 2006 and play it now, you will love it. It is exceeding. It's basically when the original trilogy Star Wars got released and it just exceeded all other movies. It's the exact same thing. Now, also finishing off with the Shivering Isles, which is one of the best expansions or DLCs ever in gaming history. It is the most enriched storyline that I've felt like I've ever had. I felt like the money's worth for it was just incredible. The DLCs and expansion packs that you get now for games are super expensive, and they're not in depth, and you don't get your value for it. Whereas the Shivering Isles, you got your value for it, and which I love. Now, I really hope that Elder Scrolls 6 doesn't have NPCs levels like Starfield or even Oblivion. Now, I don't want them to have the NPCs like Oblivion. I want it to exceed like Skyrim, because Skyrim NPCs I felt were alive, and they're obviously better than Oblivion. I obviously preferred the world in Oblivion, but obviously I do know that the Skyrim NPCs are much more interactive than Oblivion. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Elder Scrolls 6 can go. Thank you, companions, for watching this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I hope you guys are still playing the original games of Elder Scrolls. It's one of the best franchises ever. Obviously, I know that with the new Bethesda games that have recently come out, they have been absolutely shit, but hopefully we can get past that with Elder Scrolls 6 coming out when I'm probably going to be 80 years old or something. I don't know when it's going to come out, but I've got faith, and I hope you guys do too. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and let me know down below your favorite Elder Scrolls game, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.